Welcome to Trail Talk with Bobbi Jeen. Today we are talking guns. And we are talking guns with none other than Guinness Book World Record holder Will Roberts. Now you may recognize Will from Oppenheimer as what? Marshall?
General George C. Marshall.
There you go.
The Marshall Plan. Yeah.
So not only is he a gun expert, a stunt man, he is an award-winning actor as well. Now, when we're first talking about guns, I think we should dive right into gun safety.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you are going to handle a gun, you want to start learning about twirling, that's one thing you held your Guinness Book of World Records for was doing that, which is incredible to watch. This is truly an art, and you'll have to watch some of the movies that he has been in doing it. But let's start off, first off, with gun safety. You don't just grab any gun and start twirling.
Let me just go over a couple of the misnomers about what I hear all the time. People are always kind of coming after me on social media because I posted something about rust and what wasn't whose fault and what was people's fault. And the problem I think a lot of times that we're dealing with is that I don't think that people that are gun people, my friends, your friends, totally understand the movie world. And so the movie world is a totally different thing because one of the complaints I get a lot from my friends that are gun people is like, you're never supposed to point a gun at anyone. I don't care if it's worth. And I'm like, I don't think you understand that this is set up in a movie. And the other misnomer is that a lot of these folks think that every actor should come on set knowing exactly what the gun does, how it works. And you know as well as I do as a professional actor, you're handed a gun, they show you it's cold, or you're going to shoot a blank or something like that, which is more rare nowadays.
Exactly.
And you're going to do exactly what they do. There's no doing any of this stuff that I do because they'll throw you off the set for sure. There's no boys in the hood, cowboys in the hood, I call it. You learn how to handle it, and that way when they watch the film, you look realistic. But the most important thing is understanding the job of the armorer and your job as the actor being able to handle the gun and then being done. You know, you don't elaborate, you don't do anything, but
you
definitely
hand
safety.
It back.
You hand it back.
And you should always act like a gun is loaded, no matter when you are handling it. But like Will is saying, when you're on a movie set, it's a completely different animal.
Right.
But you still treat a gun with the utmost respect.
One of the things that happens, I think, a lot is that we know that Westerns usually shoot outside of Los Angeles. And there are some. Pete Shirayko's a great example. He has a great property in the ranch. But a lot of times you're shooting in like New Mexico, you're shooting in Arizona, and both, I think, right-to-work states. The thing is that when the union gets involved, whether people like it or not, there's overboardness about making sure that you understand that the armorer is doing this. That's it. That's their job. Because again, a lot of folks that are into guns go, well, you should know how to handle the gun if you're the actor. And I think, that doesn't make sense because that means that you want them to go to a range, get trained with a single action, double action, 9mm, AK.
Yes.
And that's just not going to happen because as actors, we spend our time working on who we are, not all the props that are involved. Now, if you spend a lot of time researching and doing this, that's great. If you look like you know what you're doing, but that's not really our job.
No, and that's what is so important about hiring a professional, qualified armorer when you are on set.
Absolutely, because, I hate to say it, case in point is in regards to Russ, we all know Thel Reed. And it was his daughter, and everything is unfolded to show that she was a little too meager. She was worried about offending people when she spoke. And so that's not a good job for an armorer. Armorer needs to go, put that down or you're out of the film. They need to uphold this because we're talking about a gun.
Exactly.
We're not talking about a hula hoop. So the bottom line is that I can't emphasize it enough that handling a gun, don't play around with it when you're on set or really anywhere. And don't try to do these tricks. That's for another show, I promise you.
Yes, and when you want to learn how to be one of the best, maybe not the best, but one of the best gun spinners, this is a gentleman that you're going to want to visit with. Now, we are discussing gun safety.
Yes.
We've talked about being on set, but when somebody wants to start learning how to do gun tricks and be fancy, you don't just go get a first generation Colt and start twirling.
I wish.
Well, we want to have those, but we do not shoot those, and those go in the safe. But what kind of guns do we need to purchase to start learning how to do gun tricks?
I think, first of all, that anybody that picks up a gun, first of all, it's kind of like, I know everybody should have one because, Second Amendment, and I get it. But I've trained enough people with fast draw and doing stuff on movie sets that I'm pretty sure that not everybody should have a gun. But I mean this in the sense that, look, if you have a car license, it's because you did training. And then you got behind a wheel, and the stress of the person sitting there going, turn right, turn left, same thing with a gun. Yeah. If you don't know what you're doing and you're just messing around and playing and you're doing Cowboys in the Hood.
Looking at the barrel.
Yeah, you're like, oh yeah, what's this? And you're like pointing at it and you're downrange. Look, it's just too much of a safety risk not to learn those. In regards to what I'm doing and spinning the guns, nowadays, I'm just gonna give a shout out to Colt. They made a BB gun, and that's what this is, because I travel around the world with my guns so much that I'll get to an airport and TSA will go, hey, Will, come on over. But it's safer with some of these because number one is that if I drop a gun, I don't have to worry about this breaking because it's only $99.
But it also has the same weight.
It absolutely does. And the smoothness that you can do all the over the rolling and over the top and so on and spin it. It has the same feel, but it's actually not going to rip up your fingers like the real Colts do because they're really sharper. But again, to learn all these tricks, I say you should learn it with a 9mm. Experiment with these things. Thing is that if you're going to be in a film, you want to make sure that you're holding it right. And look, there's a lot of YouTube out there.
Your finger isn't always on the trigger.
No, so when you're holding the gun and you're doing like this, you're going to be off. Yeah, a lot of times you'll see this and so on. But again, learn all the different guns, whether it's a rifle, a lever action, if you're into cowboy stuff, single action, because the fact of the matter is that you might be given a gun, and when you're out there, and if you don't know the difference between the guns and how to hold them, and also, let me tell you, the recoil.
Yes.
Watch, and you know what? Get to a range. Go to a range and just, get someone there, get a lesson. It's kind of like golf. See your local PGA pro and see your local person at the range and say, look, I'm going to be shooting a movie and I'm shooting this gun. Can you let me shoot some? Because you want to get that instead of going, what's that?
You want everything, or not doing anything at all.
That's right.
Not having any movement.
Yeah.
And like Will said, a lot of movies these days, you don't even shoot blanks. They add that in later.
In post.
And sometimes you see people going pow, 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 pow. And no, we don't do pow, pow on the movies.
We don't do pow, pow. Well, there you go. That might explain the actor's experience, though. I've been doing it for 5 days and going pow, pow. No, we'll put that in later, buddy.
Now, and as Will is saying, get familiar with your firearms. There is concealed carry courses that you can take. There is just weapons courses that you can take. Get familiar with handling it so that when you have a gun in your hand, you're not intimidated. You're not holding the gun like, okay, I'm ready to shoot. Pow, pow, pow. That's not how it goes.
No, you can't do that. And also a couple other things. Make sure, regardless of what it is, get yourself a little lock and a nice case. Treat this thing with the respect it deserves. Yeah, I know guns
real
don't...
or not.
Yeah, real or not.
Yes.
I know guns don't kill, and people do. I got it. But the fact is that I think a lot of times, like I used to do a lot of fast draw training at corporate events around the world, and I'd get some of the people that you would never expect from Oklahoma, from Texas, and they go, my brother, sister, mother, grandfather, we all had guns. And they would take the gun out of the holsters we gave them, and they would pull it, and as they pull it, they would cock it, shoot it in the holster, and go like that. And I'm like, now you understand the difference between intention and follow through. Yeah. And when you do this follow through, it's a very important thing for people to understand. That's why we train the military and we train the police officers and, male, female, how to do this, because the fact is that, there's a stress level.
There is.
And like I told you with the driving, if you don't get this to a point where you can do this, or I practice all this stuff ongoingly and putting it in my holster, and it wasn't something that I just woke up one day and went, I think I'm going to do this. took a lot of dropping. By the way, when you're learning how to gun spin, get on your knees and get it on a mattress.
That's a great idea. And the fact that Will just said it didn't just take a few days for him to become a Guinness World Record holder. I mean, how many hours would you guess that you have practiced? Because you've been doing this for how many years?
I've been probably like seriously for about 30 years or so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot of practice to be good at anything that you want to be good at. And when you're handling firearms, there's just extra caution that you take when handling them. And always remember, act like they are loaded, whether they're real
Absolutely.
or not.
Now, to drive home one of the points you just said about, getting to the point where it's, I'll say second nature, it's kind of like my trick roping. I have a world record for trick roping as well. And with the guns and the ropes, if I can't do this and look forward or close my eyes and spin the gun and do whatever I need to do, the problem is that I'm going to be focusing, if I'm talking to someone or entertaining or doing a movie, I'm going to be focusing on like, oh gosh, I have to do this, and it's going to read in my eyes. You need to make sure that anything you do with a prop or anything, a skill like this, that you have it so dialed in that you don't have to worry about it and you can do whatever you want. You can spin too, and you can do all that fun stuff, and then you can, then you can get your shot out and boom, kill them. But the point is that know your props, and in this case, know your guns, because you do not want to do it wrong.
And that's second nature, just like being on a horse. You can definitely tell when people get on a horse when they're in a Western film and they can ride or not. That is the same exact thing with a firearm. Will, I want to thank you so much for taking your time to visit with us about firearms. And you guys need to follow this amazingly talented gentleman because he is putting out so much informational content on a daily basis. Where can people learn more about you, Will?
You can go to my site, which is actorwillroberts.com, or my Instagram, which is Will Roberts Official. I bounce back and forth to that, but also I'm going to be doing I have lessons on gun spinning or trick roping or whips and stuff like that. Also, what we're doing here, the filmmaking stuff, it's called Outlaw Filmmaker. But last thing I want to say is that, again, taking your guns and understanding whether or not they're the right model. Pete Churako's a great guy for this because he, and you see holsters that are wrong. I have these created by a gentleman out of England. We all kind of know, I bet. These are just amazing. Whatever you do, don't go to Tijuana and grab those Buscaderos there for $75. Go on to eBay.
Exactly.
You can go on to eBay and check out some of that stuff.
Or you can go to westerntradingpost.com.
That's right.
And join in on our auctions because we get a lot of amazing gun belts that go through the auction all of the time.
Yeah. So practice, practice, practice. I want to thank you so much. It's an honor to finally meet you.
And you guys know that even though I am very familiar with firearms, I think I'm going to be visiting with Will a little bit more because I want to get pretty handy with him.
Oh, you know what? There's not enough women gun spinners. I know only about 2 of them or 3 of them. I did shows in Cirque du Soleil with Bonnie West, Natalie, and the only other ones I know are the ones that are in Europe. So we need to get you spinning, girl.
There might be a goal for Bobbi Jeen there. God bless,
like
and thank you for joining us.
See ya. Here we are in 3D. Cool.